Hello once again and welcome to Life Lessons 360. My name is Anthony and it's so good to have you on the channel today. Here at Life Lessons 360, we go ahead and talk about great and powerful stories. Stories that not only challenge you, but inspire you to be your very best, be it in your professional or personal life, but more importantly, in your spiritual life. Today we'll be looking over something that has been a plague in our society, which is like the idolization of happiness, which in context, I would say it's a societal concept. Now, the tragedy today is not merely the pursuit of happiness, but also the idolization of happiness. Happiness has been elevated to a byproduct of meaning, to a central life objective. And in so doing, it has subtly reshaped the values of people, distorted priorities, weakened character, and more importantly, even hindered purpose. Now, what once was a transient emotional case has become a cultural good that has been pursued at all costs. Now, in this new order, delayed gratification is treated as suppression, cruelty, sacrifice even as foolishness. Sacrifice is no longer measured by the depth of character or value created, but by visibility, virality, and even monetization. And even when this comes at the expense of integrity. And this is why the idolization of happiness functions like a cancer in the society. It glows quietly, pleasurable at first, but gradually destroys the very system that sustains human flourishing. Now, what does it mean when happiness is replaces meaning? What we'll think about is that true fulfillment has historically emerged from meaning, responsibility, and contribution. However, in the modern culture, this has been inverted in its order. People now ask questions like, does this make me happy? Rather than asking, is this meaningful, necessary, or is this right? When happiness becomes a compass, moral endurance collapses. Relationships are abandoned and become inconvenient. Careers are discarded when discomfort sets in. Commitments dissolve when commitment starts producing emotional rewards, it totally dissolves. You can see that a lot in marital relationships or even partners. When emotional highs leave the place, everything dissolves. And so when happiness is no longer the consequence of meaning, but the substitute of meaning. The other dangerous thing about that is that there is the absence of delayed gratification. Growth requires time, reputation, sometimes boredom, and even endurance. But the modern society today doesn't glorify those things. What do people want? People want results without rehearsals, wealth without mastery, influence without credibility, and even arrival without any process. Now, this impatience produces very shallow results. And in principle, what grows too fast rarely grows strong. Another thing that we could look at in this society, that monetization has become the moral compass. Money has become the validator of truth. Anything that sells, trends, or goes viral is assumed to be good, regardless of its means. Character has now become negotiable. Principles are optional. As long as there is profit, pleasure, or popularity is secured. This has normalized things like exploitation, dressed in ambition, compromise labeled as smart strategy, moral shortcuts have been rebranded as hustle. Now, in principle, profit without principle is an institutionalized decay. The fourth thing that we're going to be talking about is when process is undervalued and arrival is worshipped. Modern culture is obsessed with highlighting reels. The journey is irrelevant, only outcomes are irrelevant. Yet process is where identity is formed. When people skip process, they arrive unprepared, and success cannot be sustained. Any form of pressure, they collapse under it and sabotage everything they achieve. The irony is that sometimes many arrive at that destination only to realize that they are not built to live in that place. Process itself is not a delay, process is construction. The fifth thing is that emotional comfort has replaced character formation. Discomfort is now viewed as a threat and not a training ground. Many institutions have taken away discomfort and they don't introduce any form of challenges. What people label it as now is now challenges, and wisdom is now shaped. Wisdom itself is shaped by suffering, responsibility, and sometimes a culture that avoids discomfort produces adults that are morally fragile and confused. Sometimes, in principle, what you remove to make life easy is often what makes life meaningful. The psychological cost of happiness being worshipped, ironically, is a society that is being obsessed with happiness. There is increasing anxiety, obsession, suppression, and very unstable. When happiness is treated as a permanent state, any deviation feels like grand failure. People can no longer be allowed to be sad, struggle, or even endure seasons of obscurity. This creates an internal pressure to perform, joy, fake, and even mask your pain, leading to emotional burnouts, identity confusion, and emptiness. In principle, a life that forbids sadness cannot sustain joy. The question now is, how do you redefine success? True success itself is not the absence of pain, but the presence of purpose. It is not speed, not happiness alone, but also wholeness. Success should be measured by who you become, what you build that outlives you, the integrity retained under pressure, the value you create beyond yourself. In principle, character is really the only success you never outgrow. In conclusion, what's the antidote? The cure for the idolization of happiness is not misery, it's meaning. The courage to embrace process, respect growth, delay gratification, build character before comfort, build depth over dopamine. Happiness, when it's restored to its rightful place, becomes what it's always meant to be, a reward, not a ruler. And until society dethrones happiness from its pedestal, it will continue to consume the very foundation of excellence, of leadership, and human dignity. God bless you.